questions that might spring to mind when seeing this include, is it real? Where did it happen? And is this safe? The short answers are yes in Alaska and no. The details: there are a number of lakes called Alpine lakes near the Alaskan city of Anchorage. An outdoor guide here says several unusual factors came together to make this possible. One, the weather was initially very cold but dry. So when this video was recorded in late October, there weren't 2 feet of snow covering the lake like there are now. 2, there's no vegetation in the water here, so it's incredibly clear. You can see the boulders along the lake bed. And 3,
since it took 10 years, maybe longer for those conditions to present this year, I think it might be another decade before we get to see something like that again.
the ice where this was recorded was reportedly about 4 inches thick all around the perimeter, which Mail says was substantial enough to skate on. But he also said his group wears specific safety gear that helps them climb out in case they fall through the ice, and that during the week this happened, there were people who did. They all survived, but Mail didn't want viewers of the video to be misled. This is dangerous. Hi, I'm Carl Azus. Means the world to have you watching the world from A to Z. You can't even see the ice on the lakes around Anchorage now. This month alone, the city has been coated by more than 28 inches of snow. The National Weather Service says the only other time it got this much this early in the season was back in 1994. Several people without homes lost their lives in the heavy snowfall. The emergency that the mayor has declared will speed up road clearing work and allow free parking in public garages so people can move their cars out of the way of plows. Forecasters say more snow is likely throughout the week. It was coming down heavily when we produced this show.
Word of knowledge. Which of these events lasted from December 2018 to January 2019? Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, U.S. government shutdown, Toys R Us bankruptcy, fire at Notre Dame Cathedral. The longest partial shutdown of the U.S. government occurred in the winter of 2018 and 2019.
Time is running out for Congress to pass a funding bill and avoid a government shutdown. Lawmakers have until midnight Friday before many government operations will be forced to halt. A plan must first pass the House and then the Senate. On Saturday, Speaker Johnson announced a plan on a GOP conference call. It's split into 2 parts. The first bill would extend funding until January 19th and would include money for military, veterans affairs, transportation, housing, and the energy department. The second part of the bill would extend funding until February 2nd and include money for the rest of the government. But it lacks deep spending cuts many right-wing House members pushed for.
We got $1.7 trillion deficit this year, and where, under any circumstances, can they come to bring themselves to have an offset?
Neither bill, though, includes additional aid for Israel or Ukraine, something many lawmakers want to see.
I want to see that get done as expeditiously as possible. I also support aid to Ukraine.
If the government shuts down, millions of federal employees won't get paid.
The impact across the country could be significant. Not all services will be continued to be provided, so all of those could have a bad ripple effect.
I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Typically in a government shutdown, employees do get paid what they're owed after Congress and the president reach an agreement on government funding. But those who depend on every paycheck to make ends meet could find themselves in a difficult situation. There have been 21 shutdowns since 1976. Some have been blamed on Democrats, some have been blamed on Republicans. The Democrats, who currently control the Senate and the White House, and the Republicans, who currently control the House of Representatives, have very different priorities when it comes to what they think the government should spend money on. And within the House, as you just saw, not all Republicans are on the same page when it comes to spending. So finding compromise on an agreement for the months ahead has been and threatens to remain a major challenge. If lawmakers are unable to reach a compromise by Friday the 17th, the government will be in a position where it only spends money on what are considered essential services. So national parks and museums, which are widely considered non-essential, could be closed. Certain government services like passport processing and small business loans could be delayed. but services that are considered essential, like the military and police, emergency medical care, they'd continue as they are. So would air traffic control. However, there are concerns that if workers aren't being paid on time, their sick-outs could increase, and that could have a bad impact on air travel at a time when it's expected to set a new record.
The AAA Travel Organization is predicting that next week's Thanksgiving holiday will be one of the busiest ever as far as traveling goes. 55 million people going at least 50 miles from home. That's AAA's latest estimate for this season. And traffic congestion isn't the only concern. If the government shuts down this weekend, flying could get tougher. The White House says long waits and worsened delays may be ahead for airline passengers. There's an ongoing shortage of air traffic controllers if the government sees a partial shutdown.
From what I hear, we're looking to surpass some records here in Atlanta over this travel holiday season. So to be in a government shutdown during that time is not going to be good.
Workers at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport do not want their paychecks delayed.
Atlanta's the busiest airport in the world. So, a slowdown here slows down everything else, and we just do not want that happening.
We'll know this weekend if there'll be a shutdown. The potential effects are up in the air. I'm Lindsay Wolfgang Mast for The World from A to Z.
On this date in world history. A book published on November 14th, 1883 would impact generations of readers. It was Robert Louis Stevenson's Treasure Island, 292 pages of buccaneers and buried gold. When people think of treasure maps, peg-legged pirates, pieces of eight, and ships with black sails, they're thinking of scenes popularized by Stevenson's work. Hey, speaking of books, an American journalist named Nellie Bly was thinking of Around the World in 80 Days, a work of fiction, when she attempted to go that distance in fact. Her journey began on this date in 1889. She traveled by ship, train, horse, rickshaw, and made the trip in 72 days, becoming very famous for her journey. And on this date in 1960, a 6-year-old African-American girl named Ruby Bridges became the first black student to attend William Frantz Elementary School in New Orleans, Louisiana. She was escorted by 4 federal marshals. Enraged crowds had gathered to protest and threaten the first grader as people continued to resist integration. But over the course of the school year, the rage subsided, Bridges succeeded, and she eventually became a civil rights activist. And our world of viewers on The World from A to Z, we're excited to see Miss Ashley's class today. Thank you for watching from TEDA or TEDA International School in Tianjin, China. We're leaping the Pacific and landing in Minnesota next, giving a warm willkommen to Miss Sharta's class at Denfield High School. It's in the city of Duluth. Finally, a natural fireworks show on the Italian island of Sicily. That's the rock that the boot appears to be kicking on this map. One of the features Sicily's famous for is Mount Etna. It's the tallest and among the most active volcanoes in Europe, and early this week, Etna piped up, firing lava and ash into the air. It's a common sight for people who live in Sicily. My friend Sean McCarthy at Sigonella Middle High School often sent me pictures. Even the Catania Airport, located 20 miles away from Mount Etna, was open when the video was recorded. Etna is doing what Etna does, and it's a spectacular sight to see. Of course, some would be bolting when they saw something molten, calling Mag Mama to vent and saying, I got crater things to do. There's volcano way I'd call Dara to sit still and go with the flow while missing the chance to lab on the next flight out. I'm as good as Cone without having a blast, so don't ask me to stick around, pal. I'm Carl Azus, and I can't stick around any longer today. Please join us tomorrow for another tour of the world from A to Z.